Uh, sorry. What we have seen is that from an overall perspective, most companies have now already embarked on a cloud journey. They have already adopted some format of the cloud or not. Okay, but we have reached the stage, the next stage, which is is our cloud strategy aligned to the business which we want to support and provide that level of service and comfort to our business users in order to ensure that we ultimately delight our customers. So that's the core part of it. There is already a base assumption that there is a lot. I mean, almost all our customers with who we interact with have embarked on some or other kind of a cloud journey. Now, if you really look at when we went ahead with this journey, if you really look at it, it has to start with the strategy of the business. Is it aligned? First of all, when we are talking about a cloud strategy, is our cloud strategy aligned to our business expectations? And business expectations for anyone who works in IT is that it's a constantly moving target, and you have to constantly delight your business users. Is that something which is being thought through? And quite often, if you really look at it, where people mistake cloud implementation with cloud strategy, and I want to distinguish this key point, because if you really look at the implementation of cloud, that is how you do it, right? How you implement a cloud. But what a cloud strategy talks about is what you do. What is it? What was the real purpose of you going on this cloud journey? And why are you doing this cloud activity, and is it always linked back to your the business users key points? So that's something which you have to also constantly keep in mind. And we have seen that as people migrated, it was convenience, it was fast, agility, maybe even the pandemic, which drove many people to the cloud and cloud oriented strategy. And now it's a time to recheck and see, and re-strategize. Some of the people are actually trying to now migrate to a multi-cloud strategy and keep it aligned, but have not thought through certain elements of it. Okay, and that is some alignment around that. There are others who are completely rewriting the strategy. They're saying that I think I have to go in and relook at how IT has to enable the business, and how do I actually rework my overall architecture framework in order to actually support this. And when we talk about unified custom cloud experience, we break it down into the following key parts. There are some constituent parts which exist in generating a cloud story. One is it has to be seamless activity. It has to be secure. It has to be connected digital estate. Okay, so that you can migrate into this new infrastructure in a more agile fashion. So that's something which we consider as a key element. Now, at all our customer estates, there are many growth factors. Growth, efficiency, experience, agility, innovation are the key factors you want to bring to your business. Every CEO is looking at all these on a combined level. And many of these tools have been deployed, and some of the leaders have deployed it in a fashion which we will talk about in the next few slides. Okay, so first of all, it is handling artificial intelligence, big data analytics, edge or quantum computing. These are some of the elements which we have introduced in some shape or form into our system. And the idea is to actually look at this whole thing in a holistic cloud strategy. And how do we actually do this? A very interesting paper which was introduced a few years back is around by IDC, specifically around the India landscape. And I would like you to probably revalidate yourself as you actually look at this slide as to where you are in this journey, right? What they have connected the whole thing is is your cloud strategy having a well-connected cloud? And what we mean by well-connected cloud is all enterprise are struggling to actually implement some kind of app modernization. And when I mean by app modernization, they want to bring in agility to the IT framework. So they want to ensure that apps, when they are created, we can run multiple sprints, you can actually release codes as quickly as possible. And do you have the infrastructure model created in your cloud strategy in order to support that? Okay, because the businesses have to adopt fast. They have to move fast. Is your cloud strategy able to move that fast? Okay. And the expectation is that, this is going to be an activity which people are going to focus on, going into 2023. And that there is a lot of activity around that. Modernizing, enterprise application is the second most important part. To gain business agility, enterprise will have to commit to modernize over half their existing applications. Okay, most of the core applications are difficult and sometimes monolithic to actually migrate. Now they have to break it down in order to actually meet the business need, that you can't wait for 6 months, 8 months to have a business idea implemented, because your competition is much more agile. So that's an activity which most large, even big companies have started doing and implementing, and a fair amount of people have taken a lot of forward calls in order to actually ensure that they are ready. Okay, and I think many of the leaders would be able to get there, probably by 22 itself. Okay, so 2025 is where we are expecting that a large amount of this turnkey activity is going to happen. And lastly, you have to, while we always say, right now it's a cloud first strategy, a cloud ready organization. The simple logic here is that by 2024, the expectation is that 50% of the enterprise will have replaced their outdated operational models and gone with a more cloud-centric model. Okay, and that is something which we see as an emerging trend. A lot of focus and effort going towards that. The key worry again is, like I said in the earlier slide, it is, is it linked back to your business strategy? Okay. So when we look at major businesses, a majority of the businesses are, not very confident about their cloud strategy at the current moment, and there are some, key reasons for that. There is, the whole disruption for migration, the challenges around application modernization. These are two key problems, and they are not going anywhere unless you take a fair call, and you actually work with people who are experts in this area. The management of disparate hybrid multi-cloud environment. This is becoming a huge challenge, not just on the cloud part itself, is also on the security part and the network part around it, as to how this whole infrastructure part can be thought through. So you require an expert who's good not only on just the cloud migration, but you'll have to and the app modernization part. You'll also have to have an expert in the room who's a security person, and that lack of consistent security across platforms and cloud first network is going to be a key element which has to be brought in. Competencies and skills to manage these diverse environments is also becoming, people are obviously, there is a lot of push by various cloud providers in order to talk about their specific features. And some of the dangers which we see in going with and going with proprietary models is, somehow going back to the mainframe days where you get locked in on a particular technology and then you can't extract yourself out. And you're stuck with, instead of a licensing model, like probably a unit model. Okay, so these are some of the challenges which we have, but getting people with the necessary skills is also a big problem. And procurement inefficiencies are a continuous problem, though I think there are some tools which are provided by many of the cloud providers in order to actually help you in that. But now, how do you look at your overall estate if it is a multi-cloud environment and actually be able to address this? So these are some of the challenges which we foresee a lot. And what we have done here is actually try to talk about the entire cloud transformation charter and see a wall of difficulties which have to be managed. And if you really look at each of these parameters, and frankly, this wall is quite bigger than this, because you have a lot of things to worry about. No single touch point for multi-cloud deployments, lack of in-house cloud expertise, application refactoring challenges, lock-in with enterprise agreements. You look at it and you will notice that the CIO's job and the IT architect's job is not very easy, and ensure that his enterprise business agility is still not lost if and somehow they have to break through this set of issues. What we have done through this wall of difficulties is call out cloud management challenges, some security and compliance challenges, and some network related challenges. So these are some of the points which a person has to surmount in order to actually be more effective, and be able to address some of these in their proposition when they are presenting it to their business. Now, very quickly, just ensuring that we kind of explain what Tata Communication brings to the table. When we look at this challenge, we break it down into these three strategies. One is the data strategy, which is to understand the customer's data and how the data has to be actually managed. Okay, and look at that and how it has to be modeled to help actually address that problem. The entire security strategy around it. Okay, so you have this application which has to be re-architected on the cloud. How do you actually ensure that security is inbuilt into every part of the equation? Along with that, a new problem when you go into multi-cloud is, how is your application performing across these multi-clouds? People have started doing strange things, because quite often what we are seeing is that the application team is since everything is available at from an application layer to use the infrastructure, it is becoming a little bit of a challenge of people not realizing the concept of how this cloud has to be distributed, okay, and where it has to be efficiently built. So the entire network strategy becomes the key part. So these three become the key part of the initial planning exercise for our customers, where we understand their application, create the use cases, and ensure that the migration strategy is clearly implemented for them. Okay, so the entire cloud model, the data rate of migration, the data modeling, even from a perspective of understanding the application groups, ensuring that how do you actually retire, retract and refactor your environment. Looking at containerization around the migration strategy is going to be a key element, based on your cloud strategy. All this has to be done ensuring that compliance is established and your cloud economics comes into place, because every cloud provider has their own method. And if you really look at it within each feature, there could be a unique billing model which has to be looked at. It is not easy, irrespective of the dashboards people give. It has to ultimately, you have a budget to meet based on the value you create for your business, and you are in the hot seat to ensure that this is implemented in an effective manner. Okay, so the entire economics is there, and ultimately compliance becomes a key part, because based on your industry, or even if not, if you have to actually ensure your partners and customers that you are a safe person to deal with, and that's something which is going to become more and more critical as we go along. Yeah. So finally, what we do and how do we actually implement some of this is we start focusing on the IT infrastructure assessment and cloud strategy, cloud security architecture design consultation. This is the phase where we understand your application. We do a fair bit of assessment. We understand your application specific requirements, ensure that the risk profile is correctly captured, ensuring that the framework, the actual application flow framework is created, so that we understand where the information is going. Okay, all this has to be then designed on an infrastructure, and looking at the existing infrastructure assessment and design consultation is done. A zero trust network architecture based hybrid cloud security infrastructure has to be created, and the overall compliance needs of the customer is considered. So an IT infrastructure assessment is a good starting point where we establish and address the key question of, is the business strategy and the IT strategy and your cloud strategy all integrated. Okay, so this is the first part of it. The second part is in terms of migration. Migration has many elements to it. You may be doing modernization. You may start with a lift and shift. There could be various elements. There could be a completely different method of deployment using DevOps and business warehouses, so solutions, and ensuring that the platforms are built in order to actually support these. The entire security elements around it. Okay, design a security solution architecture which can be implemented for cloud, and it is actually non-disruptive, right? It is not so disruptive that the end users see an impact, but ensure that and give you the boardroom the comfort that you are completely covered in terms of your risk. Okay, so this is an element, and finally the entire integration with on-prem equipment. Now, what we have seen in most of our cloud, phase one, if I were to call it, there was a lot of on-prem equipment which didn't require to be completely migrated, and they still had a lot of intricacies. There could be issues of doing certain things at the edge itself in order to ensure that there's more reliability and performance which can be achieved because of sites being remote. So there is a lot of existing infrastructure which would still have the costs embedded in them, which you don't want to do away. The entire integration of these on-prem equipment into your setup is also something which we have seen, and we have to actually ensure that that integration happens smoothly. Any partner environments, where you want to enforce partners into coming into you, or partners or customers who are enforcing that you as a business, if you want to interact with me, you come through the API gateway. An application has to be secure and has to agree to certain new methodologies. That is something which we have seen as part of the integration framework. Okay. Finally, all this which you do has to be constantly monitored and managed based on your requirements. And this is the complicated part in terms of even skill management. Trying to do this all in-house or through partners who are only covering one area. What we see going ahead is it's going to be a combined environment of infrastructure, security, as well as network. All this has to play out if your overall cloud strategy has to play out together. Yeah. And finally, a very quick view of what we provide. There is the whole application services part. We help in the application modernization and the infrastructure support for any kind of application development. We do manage Kubernetes as well as CI/CD pipeline and API management. There is the entire gamut of managed services which goes below that, and professional services. Infrastructure, what we have built is we have a suite of capabilities on our own in order to actually enter, for example, a SAP HANA grid, which we run nationally, and we have very large customers on this, in order to ensure that this infrastructure is secure and it is completely isolated from any kind of even an internet-based architecture. Okay, so any unsecure or private architecture, that's something which we have done. We have a private cloud, and in addition to all that, we also support all the public clouds out there which are of prominence. So in order to actually support the customer and give the flexibility to the customer to actually have a more integrated, holistic model. Finally, all this can be only as good as the security layer, if you really look at it, and the network layer on which we foundationally build. These are elements which we have built with a lot of experience, and we are introducing a model where all three of these elements are clearly a bedrock for your overall cloud strategy. And on top of that, we provide the necessary services in order to support the overall model. With that, what we do is, all this has to actually, work in a single orchestrated fashion. And that is what we do, that all the security layer, the network layer, as well as the infrastructure layer can all be looked and orchestrated through a single ISO cloud command. and this doesn't just for the infrastructure we provide, but also for the infrastructure on a multi-cloud environment, or normal hyperscaler architecture. Okay. Like we said, when we went on this journey, we had to ensure that when we are doing this for our customers, we are taking care into consideration the overall regional regulatory frameworks. We had to also take industry regulations into the model, and the overall IT management certificates. So these are some, real audits, and many of our customers today, even from the BFSI sector, when they come to us and then we completely manage their entire infrastructure, we give them access to these elements straight away. So their compliance to the local regulator becomes much faster. They don't have to do all this, because the infrastructure is completely managed using many of these certifications, which are regularly audited and managed by other third-party users. And very finally, what we have done for our customers, and this has been played out again and again by our customers back to us, is the experience of the people we bring, the proven processes and best practices, the security which is inbuilt in the design, okay, and ensuring that we provide all this with a completely global connectivity framework. With that, I'll like to thank you for this time. All the very best for the next activity which you're going to do. Hope there is a lot of learning in that, and all the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hari, for this insightful session. I'm sure our audience is better equipped to solve the case study now. We can take a couple of specific questions before we move on to the next part of workshop. Please type your questions in the chat box now, and we will take them up. Hari, there are a couple of questions which have come in. Let me start with the first one. How is application security managed, especially on code and integration layers within the DevOps pipeline?
Okay, so this is a very interesting scenario, because right now DevSecOps is a cool word, but it is what we see from our side is it requires us to work very closely with the application person and the developers to actually ensure a base level of policy and process discipline, which we'll have to build in, and a level of automation, automatic code, SAST kind of SAST or DST kind of a model architecture, which we can actually introduce in the overall framework. So these are some elements which we can actually look at it both from if an artifact is to be created, there is a unique method of actually solving it. But if there are artifacts, even if an artifact is not and a code is being developed, we have to start looking at it from our overall perspective, and based on what the kind of sprints you have, the kind of changes you have, there has to be certain infrastructure which or security elements which we'll have to embed into the entire current CI/CD pipeline or an overall application architecture which you will have. Yeah.
Thank you, Hari. Moving on to the next question. Are there native security measures to secure infrastructure from DDoS and other common threats?
Of course. I mean, there are number of elements which are there. In fact, we protect almost all the banks in the country because DDoS being the way and the nature it is, it has to be controlled even before it comes into the country. A number of DDoS attacks, and you can go online and see the current DDoS pattern around the world. At various points in time, DDoS is attacked from outside the country, and most of this has to be controlled from outside, and even before it hits the data center. But there are other elements of DDoS which have to be controlled within the data center. So that's something which it's a pretty mature technology now. But DDoS being the nature of DDoS and the volumes of DDoS are just growing exponentially. So that's something, do let us know and we can help you. Yeah.
Thank you, Hari. Moving on to the last question. Should we consider core services like ERP a suitable workload for cloud, or should we focus on peripheral application analytical services only?
Yeah, this boils down to your business strategy and what you're trying to do. So what we have seen, and I just had a few minutes to tell that we have seen customers when it comes to ERP and other core applications, they have tried to keep it into some kind of a private cloud or a cloud which is which has all the features of cloud, but it is not completely exposed. So I would call it almost like a community cloud or an application specific cloud, which we have seen. But again, based on business requirements and the exposure you have to have that ERP to your partner ecosystems, your enterprise ecosystems, your user ecosystems. It depends. Where you want the agility, you may and capability to actually give that in a secure environment. You may want to do it a little differently in a community oriented or an application stack oriented architecture, which is specifically for the ERP. And then you have the environments where it is exposing to multiple levels of end users and exposure to partners, partner ecosystems who have to integrate into your setup. You may have the ability to also go into a more public environment. Both these environments are something which we have seen, and we cater to both. Yeah.
Thank you, Hari. That's all the time we had for the questions. And thanks for taking questions and addressing them in detail. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, let me quickly explain how the workshop will function. All delegates will be assigned to a specific breakout room. All the people in the breakout room are part of a team. Your team number will be informed to you by the room moderator. You can find the team member names in the participants tab. A link to the case study will be provided in the chat box in the breakout rooms by the room moderator. Please download the case study onto your own device. You will have 30 minutes to read the case study, discuss the solution, and create a presentation. Room moderator will help you to create the presentation. In the breakout room, you can get help from Tata Communications technical specialists. At the end of 30 minutes, the breakout room will be closed and you will come back to the main session. You'll receive a time warning before you are exited. Please don't exit the rooms in between. If you do so, you will be out of the complete event and will have to re-log in again. After you return to the main session, we will have the team presentations. Every team will need to present its solutions. Please nominate one person from your team to be the presenter. Each team presenter will get 3 minutes to explain the presentation. Just to remind you once again, we have prizes for the best presentations. The prizes are rupees 3,000 gift voucher for each team member of the winning team, rupees 2,000 gift voucher for each team member of the runner-up team. If we are all ready, we can start the case study solving part of the workshop. Remember, the link to the case study will be provided in the chat box. In the breakout room, you can unmute yourself to interact with other team members. You'll now be assigned to the breakout rooms. See you all on the other side. All the best. Hi, jury members. I hope Kapil, Archie, Ashok, Mahesh, all of you are there.
Yes, we are there. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you had a chance to look at the case study and the Excel sheet that I had shared, which we'll be using to score the teams. So now everybody is going to work on the solutioning part. After 30 minutes, they will come back. And then we start the presentations. And that's when I think you will get a little busy in terms of scoring each of the team presentations. Post that, please mail the Excel sheets back to me. And while I'm collating that, I will request all of you to share your views, thoughts on the format and the team presentations, so that I get a little time to tabulate all the scores, and then finally we can announce the winners and wrap up the case study.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And should we join or should we stay in the?
I think you can stay. You can mute yourselves and stay back. Yeah, that will be helpful. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Or if you really want to see how teams are doing it, maybe you can hop into each of the breakout rooms as well.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
You mean to that we can join the room and then we can again join another room this way, right?
Yes, absolutely. You can hop into each of the rooms and come back
Okay.
here.
Oh, good, great.
So I've just shared my screen with all of you. Once you're ready, we can start filling up some of the points on the slides.
Mantesh, we are back.
Thanks, Vivek. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the main session. Hope you all enjoyed the discussions in breakout rooms. Before we start the presentation by the teams, let me quickly tell you. The presentation sequence will be according to the team numbers. That's team 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Host will upload your presentation and give you remote access rights to change the slides. Team presenters should unmute themselves before starting. Click on the presentation screen to get control and change slides. Every presenter will get 3 minutes to make the team presentations. While the teams are presenting, I would request you all to complete the feedback form that's in your chat box now. So let's begin with the presentations. Vivek, can we have team 1 presentation, please?
Mr. Amit Gupta from Team 1.
Amit, if you can hear us, please start the presentation. Amit, you're there? Anybody from team 1 who can hear us? Vivek, we can move to team 2 presentation and maybe come back to team 1 after we complete all the presentations.
Mr. Amit is unmuted.
Amit is back.
Okay, great. All right. I think we can go back to team 1 then. Okay, Amit, you can start. Amit, can you hear us?
I think there's some audio issues.
Okay, anyone from team 1 who would like to present in place of Amit Gupta? I think he seems to be having some audio issues. Okay, Vivek, let's move on to the team 2 presentation. We'll come back to team 1 after all the presentations. Hopefully by then, Amit will be able to fix his audio. Pawan, if you can hear us.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yes, so good afternoon to all of you. My name is Pawan Roy. I'm presenting team number 2. We have done a joint discussion and understand that what is the case studies there, and based on that we are presenting it. So I'll give you my introduction. So I am working with Birla Corporation Limited, General Manager IT, and that's from my side. And we have a team of 7-8 people that we have jointly done that. So let's. I'll give you some background about that before I jump into that. What are the business challenges? So it's talking about as a company name is BMWF. They are into that metal business. They are into steel. It's a global company. They have office in India. They have office in Australia. And they have many data center, 15 to 20 data center. There are a number of applications. Each business are working in the silo. There are some incident happened that there is availability is a concern, costing is a concern. There was a issue with that people level of, there is some security incident is happened that the attack was happened, DDoS attack. So there are a number of problem has come up. Then finally, one of the leader has joined and he's a very dynamic person who has joined as the CEO of the organization. they started doing identifying what is all the problem is there with the current architecture of that IT perspective. And then this is the case is there. So when Steve has told to the IT, let's come up with that and present it. So we identify that based on that case study, there is a completely visibility there because each business is working in the silo. There is since we have a number of data center application working in that separately, there is a cost is very higher is there. It's a completely decentralized model is there. There are obviously there is no any kind of training program. There is no kind of a skill. There is no assessment. There is no HR skill assessments. There is a lack of the IT skills. Security risk is very clearly talking about that. Since it is a skill is not there, there is a high security risk. Data management is a big concern that is a single organization having working in the silos. We don't get the kind of the dashboard is required for that management can take a decision. And there is no governance. There is no IT governance. There is not an enterprise level of governance. Compliance is another area is there. And obviously it is a lack of the IT strategy. So this was a high level of business challenges. You identify that. And based on that, we come up with that. What is the next? We have to do that. So can you move to the next slide? So we did that assessment. So doing any kind of, it is very, very important that the assessment is required. So we should know that where we are standing as on today. So we did that. We did that first is a business assessment. What we are into business, what kind of business is there, what is the application required, what is the business demand is there, how much data depend on the IT. So we did the business assessment, and based on business assessment, we come up with okay, it's the BIA, business impact analysis, and then cover the IT assessment. So IT assessment have done it. That is cover the entire thing. Is the data center level of, network level of, security level of, is availability, whether it is a centralized, decentralized. So we've done that application side, infrastructure side, security side, IT side, OT side. We did the complete assessment. And then based on the assessment, outcome has come, and also then is a number of clearly defined what is the approach you have to do that. So first we thought it is very, very important that we have as on today have 15 to 20 data center. And let's look at that, what all application can go for that centralized mode, what all application go for the decentralized mode. Based on stability is a concern, latency is concern. So we have got centralized management data center, application delivery. We look at it can be the hybrid approach because they have a hospitality, they have a hospital also. There are hospitality management is also there.
So you will have one more minute to complete the presentation.
Yeah. So cloud solution, there are hybrid multi-cloud. We have a look for the HANA is SAP is one of the application. We can have a HANA as a migration part. CRM is important that we can have a SaaS application customers facing, and then we did the employee assessment. So employee assessment, we have to go for the high risk. Can you move to the next slide? It has helped to the cost optimization, agility, scalability, centralized management, measurement, quicker response, data driven because it's a very important AI ML. You can use that predictive part. There is a CIA. We look for the security part, IT governance, and timely report. You can get to the management level of is automation. All those solutions, so we can have automation. We can have a security quality taken care. We can have data driven organization. We can look for the cost optimization. We can get the clearly IT governance is there. We can get the ROI. So if anything missing, I'll request team, can you just add on that? Because more or less, since the time is limited, I have trying to cover that. But if something is missing, please, I'll ask my team to touch on that. And
no, we are good. We are good to go. Close it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawan, for presenting on behalf of Team 2. That was a good presentation. Business challenges were identified well. Good mix of data communication solutions portfolio in tech intervention. Lots of focus on automation, governance, scalability, and security for better business outcomes. Thank you again. Can we have Team 3 presentation now? Shakil, if you can hear us. Shakil, are you there? Anybody from Team 3?
Shakil, are you there?
Okay, I think in the interest of time, can we move on to the next team presentation? Vivek, can we have team 4 presentation, please? 1 and 3 will come back again.
All right. Good morning again, Mahentesh. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dipanjan. Thank you, experts from the team. It's a collective effort. We can go to this first slide, please. Thank you. I think, Bharat Alloys Metals Limited has a real task on its hand. And Mr. Lenka, who has come from the PSU, right, is an ex-PSU. He understands that he has to probably create a lean and agile organization, with offices pretty much all over the, all over India, a couple of offices in Australia, data centers in about 17 data centers in 13 locations, diversified group from alloys. They have a hospital, they have 130,000 employees, and grown inorganically. What it means is, it means disparate different systems, applications which are different. And obviously, some of the systems are probably redundant in terms of there is a lot of redundancy from one company to the other, right? And obviously, what it also meant was there is integration is not there, right? And apart from that, they have not adapted to new age technologies. Again, they have not considered. Again, this is grown inorganically. Again, one cannot expect that each of the companies which they've acquired have actually adapted new technologies. So that's another challenge. And they have, when I said disparate systems, they have different ERP, supply chain management systems, customer relationship management systems in different companies. Again, so these are all redundant systems. There's a need for consolidation, right? And obviously, this also meant the data was actually residing in silos. There is no unified visibility to the data that they had, right? If the management wanted to look at the data, it's not available. It's not available in a single place, right? Even if it's employee-related data, for example, 130,000 employees in different parts of the world, right? And it also meant cost was obviously going through the roof. There is an issue of cost escalations across the place, right? And the other business challenge that they had was lack of in-house technical skills, right, to take on new technologies, right? And the last but not the least, because data is residing in silos, lack of adoption of new technologies, it also meant there was very poor monitoring, right? Managing and monitoring was not very great.
One more minute.
We can go to the next slide. So what we are recommending is we are recommending a centralized ERP, right? And we are also looking at 13 data centers in 17 locations. It's definitely on the higher side with regards to running in each data center is an expensive proposition, not just from the technical side. It's also from the operational perspective. It is very high. So we have to look at data center consolidation as one objective. Application assessment and looking at what applications can be moved to the cloud is another activity that we need to take, right? And looking at in terms of evaluating cloud technologies, cloud offerings out there, and in our view, we've considered one of the options that we could probably look at is IZO Private Cloud of Tata.com as one option wherein we can move the workloads. Which also gives us the protection, data security, and security is also covered in the IZO Private Cloud. So that's one option that we are looking at. One of the things that we also need to create is we have to create an ecosystem. Sorry.
So Srinivas, you can take one more minute and complete the presentation.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I appreciate that. So if you have to create an ecosystem of cloud, if you have to move to cloud, we have to look at creating an ecosystem. Adapting agile technologies and practices is one option, one thing that we need to do. We can go to the next slide. So what will it achieve, right? We are looking at overall reducing the cost of ownership, right? And obviously go to the market quickly, which will also give the ability to go to the market quickly. That's one important thing that we are looking at. by outsourcing or by looking at IZO Private Cloud, we are also looking at getting support from Datacom, and thereby reducing the dependence on internal technical skills, right? So that's one thing that we are looking at. And overall, we will also have a better visibility to the overall infrastructure, and also we'll have better control over the management and the measurement, right? And one of the asks to both Animesh and Mr. Lenka is, I think one of the asks is to look at in terms of whatever we investments in technology, can we have good ownership and good return on investments, right? So I think that's IZO Private Cloud offers that opportunity wherein you are able to measure your technology investments, how much you're actually going and what is the return on that. And overall, I think by adapting cloud solutions, we are probably offering the customers better user experience at the end of the day, and wherein we have we are also connected, right? And we can also probably look in some, as you move forward and acquire more companies, we can also look at creating a hybrid cloud, wherein we have in-house private cloud working alongside the private cloud from Datacom, right? That is where I'll stop, and I'll ask any of the other team members to chip in if I have missed any point. And thanks for giving me one more minute. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for presenting on behalf of Team 4. That was a good presentation, well articulated. Business challenges were identified well. Good use of Tata Communications solutions in tech intervention, specifically OSCAR implementation. Lots of focus on security, scalability, and agility. I think the whole highlight of the presentation was the measurability part, which I have not seen in many presentations in last couple of weeks that we have been doing case studies. Thank you, Srinivas, again. Can we move on to Team 5 presentation now? Gaurav, if you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon. So I am representing Team 5 for this case study. So this is basically a case study about a company known as Bharat Metals and Alloys Limited, which we shortly call as BMAL, which is a large Indian manufacturing and mining company with around 73,000 crore revenue and more than 140,000 manpower across the globe. So this company has grown across geographically and in terms of products and services offering over the period of times. And this expansion majorly had been through with the help of various kind of acquisitions this company have done over the period of times. But outcome of all these acquisitions along with expansion of business and product services, but they are facing various issues like things are in silos, data not uniform, decentralized systems, lack of in-house skills, data availability. So there are so many challenges. Some of them we have listed down as a team in this slide. So high cost, like the cost is not measurable. Whatever investment has been done, IT investment, there is no concrete way to measure ROI and all those things. Costs are high and at the same time it is not measurable. Supply chain is too bad, almost collapsed. This company, for the employee welfare also, they are into the housing and hospital management, but their respective systems are over the period of time have been collapsed. Communication, unified communication is missing. There's so many legacy applications which they don't know how to deal with that. And now all these issues were there. And in the meantime, in around 2018, one new tech-savvy, Mr. Ajit, the tech-savvy person joined company as CEO. And he is MTech and very tech-savvy guy. And he wanted to transform all these things, whatever challenges company was facing. And so he wanted everything to go overall digital transformation of the company he wanted to do. And at top level, people were in agreement of digital transformation, but not at middle and lower level. But still, they were not aware how to start it. So Mr. Ajit drove all this initiative, and he visited various vendors with the team of CXOs of his company. They identified, evaluated various solutions, various vendors to solve all these problems. So next slide, please. So after careful evaluation of various products and offerings, So they chosen Tata Communication along with BMAL in this transformation journey, and it started from like when Tata got involved. So assessment of their current application landscape was the one thing, because integration of people, process, and technology was missing. Data communication, unified communication, decentralized system, these were the major challenges, and things were in-house. So that CEO, he wanted everything. Sorry?
No, please go ahead.
He wanted everything to be on cloud, including the SAP application and everything. So they identified
One more minute.
Tata IZOp public cloud for the unified cloud solution from Tatacom. For DDoS solution also they identified from Tatacom. Then they also, like, even everything is implemented, they hired Tatacom for managed services for their SOC and NOC center, because they were lacking mainly in the skills as well. They were not having in-house skills to manage all those things. So managed services were also given to Tatacom for the SOC and NOC center. So network connectivity was integrated to make it centralized. Unified communication was implemented with the help of Tata, and remote working solution and centralized. All these things were implemented with the help of Tata. Next slide, please. So overall outcome, like that CEO was keen to have two things mainly, that all IT investment should be measurable and optimized. That was one part. And company as a company, BMAL managed like a company with a seamless IT platform. So once we implemented all these things, the business outcomes were mainly as an enhanced customer base with wider set of services. Like customer satisfaction was something which is most important, and faster go to market because they moved to cloud. So any provisioning, anything was very fast to go to the market. Now infra was agile, scalable, measurable. Infra was there. Sustainable brand reputation, sustainable and enhancement of the brand reputation. And they were more fast for the offering of the services, business continuity and agility, competitive edge, better ROI, and seamless integration. These were some of the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav, for presenting on behalf of Team 5. That was a good presentation. All business challenges were identified. Good use of Tata Communication solutions in tech intervention. Lots of focus on customer experience, agility, scalability for better business outcomes. Thank you again. Can we go back to Team 1 presentation now and then follow it up with Team 3?
Hello, I am Amit Gupta from Team 1.
Please go ahead, Amit.
Yeah. So the case study, what we have asked us to resolve about BMAL. This company is Bharat Metal Alloys Limited, and this is a manufacturing company, and it is having offices in India as well as overseas. So company is a very growing company, and it has a huge manpower, and it is difficult for a company to manage all its offices. So they have a decentralized system, and since it is acquiring other companies, so they are also having some different systems. So the company is facing huge task in maintaining the presence, means they are not able to centralize their system. So another problem is, since they are having manpower in housing, hospital, and different core sectors, so they are having in-house skills for management of all these units. They are not able to integrate them. Another problem the company is facing is supply chain. Whatever material they are asking, maybe they are manufacturing the same material, but they are not able to use in their other other units. So they are dependent on supply from outside also. So they are facing huge problem in supply chain management. Now they have invested in SAP technology, but since they have acquired other units, they are not able to bring those units under SAP. So maintaining and the SAP resources proving to be very costly for the company, and ROI is very less. Now since they are acquiring more units, so there are manpower which may not be very intelligent, and they are opposing digitalization. So they have to check to them also. Now, since what they are spending, they are not able to see that how much they are spending. So they are not.
One more minute.
Yeah. Next slide, please. Now the company has thought about it, and they have hired a person from the outside to see their how to manage the resources utilization better. So they have VMware solution, Izetto Cloud. So Tata Solutions unified cloud solution from Tatacom, so that now they are able to integrate all their offices. And after offices, this is pandemic time, so most of the manpower are working from home. So to bring them into work from home, they are using networking solutions through Tatacom Express Connect, as well as they have hired for security purpose Tatacom VPN for multiple access, so that their employees can work from home. And for the audio and video,
Time up.
Yeah. What was like? Hello. Yeah. So after hiring all these solutions, the company is able to manage their resources effectively, and they are getting better rate of interest for the IT they have spent. Now each manpower database they have maintained, and it is not duplicated. So they are able to manage and utilize the manpower very effectively. And since now, because of the Tatacom solution, they are able to their resources, they are able to secure resources, and which are stable. Then they are acquiring future companies also, so they are able to expand the same, utilize the same resources for the other companies also. So we hope that female can earn more better profits and cost optimization. By the cost optimization, they can earn more good profit. Thank
you. Thank you, Amit, for presenting on behalf of Team 1. That was a good presentation. Good mix of Tata Communications solutions portfolio and tech intervention. Lots of emphasis on optimization, security, and scalability for better business outcomes. Thank you again. Can we have final team's presentation? Team 3. Shakil, if you are there and if you can hear us. Or anybody else from Team 3 who would like to go ahead and present on behalf of Team 3. I think Shakil seems to be having some disconnection issue. Shakil, Lukos, Srinivasan, Alagu, Senthil, or Hemchand. Any of you guys would like to take a shot at the presentation? Or maybe a combination of 2-3 people if that's okay. Anybody? Okay, Vivek, what you can do, probably you can just run through the slides so that we can just judge it based on the presentation. I think jury can take a call on the presentation basis the inputs in the slides. I would request the jury to make this.
Sure, and this is presentation 3. Okay?
Yeah, this is Team 3. I think we'll have to make this exception since they are having technical challenges. Yeah, so, okay. Jury can tell me when we can go to the next slide once you have gone through it. Should we go on to the next slide? Okay. Okay. Can we move to the next slide, jury?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm done now. Yeah, thank you.
Done now.
Thank you so much, jury members. And thanks, Team 3, for putting in these pointers in the slides. because of technical glitch, they're not able to present, but we will definitely consider them as part of 5 team presentations. With that, we have completed all the presentations. Now it's time to select the best 2 teams, and we will do that with jury scores. May I request jury member to share their scoring sheets with me on mail? And while members are sharing scores, the ones who have completed, can I request them to share their experience of judging case study workshop format and presentations? Any of you who have completed the scoring sheet, please come ahead and you can share your experience. Anybody? Ashok, Archie, Mahesh, Kapil.
Give a minute only. Just sending the mail. Give a minute only.
Okay, sure, no problem. Okay, can I request Ashok to share his experience? I think your sheet is through.
I have sent you the mail, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, all the teams has done a wonderful job, right? It was a tough job to select the best one. Everybody was doing wonderful. They understood the problem well. And I think this team, all these team members, I don't know at what level they are, but they understand the business pain point very well, right? That is a happy. So their self how the presentation was looking like. They are not a tech manager, but they are business technology leaders, right? And this is a good observation I could have found out. Overall, one of the team, I don't recall now who told, right? The one wonderful thing they have done on the second slide, where the third slide of business objective was that all these business outcome has to be linked to the case study, which is a business mandate for the CEO, which is lean and agile organization, right? That was one of the differentiators in one of the team I could have found out. So any of these business objective has a one outcome, and the outcome, the mandate for the CEO was the lean and agile organization. That was the differentiating factor. But anyway, everybody done a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashok, for your views and feedback. Can I request Kapil to share his experience?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And it was very interesting to judging Star Wars of IT. And I like all the presentation personally. And the best part, what I found is like everybody was aligned towards the goal, the objectives, what we have asked and what we were expecting it. A couple of things which I want to add whenever we go for any case studies. So we should focus on some of the critical items. Like I understand because there are several lacks are there, but you cannot cover all the lapses in 3.5 minutes time. So what you have to do is you have to basically pick up the pain areas, the real business pain areas, which should align with the case study. I'm giving a typical example. For example, let's say you find one of the slide I've seen it, they have noted down around 10. Because if you jot down 10 problem statements, you will take a lot of time to explain because each and every item you have to go through and little bit touch upon about that. And this is a competition. So where you have to basically very crisp and precise. So what you can do is you can pick up at least 6 top areas that presentation 3 who those guys missed out. They have chosen all the 6 problems and 6 solutions and 6 business outcomes. So which personally I liked it because they were not there. So like we are not able to make out the the way they have presentation. But team 2 business outcome was very good actually. They were very, very precise. But they already taken a lot of points. What I am suggesting is, instead of putting a lot of efforts to finding the outcomes and the challenges, just correlate your jobs actually where you are working. What you do generally, you pick up 2 initiatives in a year only, right? You may find out you can create a roadmap for the next 2 years or 3 years. So whatever problems, let's say you are identifying, for example, you are identifying 10 top problems. Fine, that is fine. But you cannot implement all 10 in a one go, because you need a lot of approval, downtime, outcome, partner selection, technology selection. That you cannot do because no CIOs has this kind of bandwidth. So you should be very precise. This year, I will take only 3 top priorities. These all are the following, right? That way you can cover up. Secondly, definitely I suggested, as I'm saying, is capture 3 priorities. The top 10, what you have, good, you have identified top 10 problems, but identify top 3 challenges which are directly impacting your business, right? Directly impacting your revenue. Like cybersecurity is one of the area which is really required. You can't miss out. Every board meeting is required. CRM is required because your business demands that, right? SAP is business demand, right? If you're focusing, you're done. You're done. You cannot roll out any other project because your 100% bandwidth goes there. So what I'm saying is, such studies where you have to put more energy. So you find out the problem statements, but show the priority. And probably you don't read all 7. Others, let others read it. Read, focus on 3. Tell them these 3 are your priority, and the solution of those priority has these solutions what you are proposing, and this would be the outcome you are expecting it, so that you can marry with the business expectation, and you can set your goal also. You can set your objective also. That's what I want to comment on it. Everybody was fantastic. It's very difficult to judge everyone. So personally, I feel you guys rocks. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kapil. I think that was a detailed feedback. I think you highlighted some of the really good points to focus on. Thank you so much. May I now request Archie Jackson to share his experience of judging a case study workshop.
Thank you, Mantesh. In fact, I'll take a quick minute, and all the presentations were beautiful. Even the one that was there where they had the technical issue, the content has been well articulated. It was crisp, precise, but overall, one of the important point is the 3 aspects around the business outcome, the problem, and the technical solutions. All of those. There have been some kind of for some of the presentations, the technical solutions were good. They were for some of them, there were business outcomes were good, well articulated, well presented. But there were 2. There were 2 top 2 contenders who had a complete uniform across all 3 different aspects. Very well presented, very well articulated. So it has been a really tough decision to find out, to score the top 1, but it was a tough call, to be very honest. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Archie, for sharing your feedback. May I now request Mahesh Kumar to share his experience of judging case study workshop and presentations. Mahesh, over to you. Is Mahesh there? Okay, looks like he's not around. Thank you so much for jury members for sharing their views and feedback on the presentation and case study workshop. Thank you so much for that. I have the results with me now. Like all the jury members mentioned, all teams did really well. One of the biggest constraints that we had given them was time to quickly think through and come back with the solutioning part. I think the solution that they proposed were really good in that limited time frame. Now coming to the winning teams, the runner-up team for this case study workshop is team number 2, presented by Pawan Roy. Team members are Rajesh, Smita, Charanjit, and Shankar. Congratulations, team 2. Each team member gets rupees 2,000 gift voucher. Your vouchers will be emailed to you shortly. Now the winning team. In fact, it was a very close contest. I think just teams have missed out by 1 points. Yeah, that was the difference in making it to the winning teams and losing. The winning team for this case study workshop is team number 4, presented by Srinivas. The team members are Amar, Gaurav, Manish, Rupjit, Sunil, Siddharth, Anil, and Shrikant. Congratulations, team 4. Each team member gets rupees 3,000 gift voucher. Your vouchers will be emailed to you shortly. With that, we have come to the end of this workshop. Thank you for attending this event. I hope you found it stimulating and informative. Do remember to complete the feedback form that's in your chat box now. Special mention and thanks to our jury members. Thank you so much for joining in and judging the presentation. Thanks again. I look forward to being in touch and hosting you at another session soon. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.